reason governor races matter so much in the independent movement. The governor's office isn't just a bully pulpit. It's an executive role, budget authority, veto power, appointments, emergency powers. And unlike a senator or a congressperson, the governor doesn't need a caucus to function. They just need to govern. Today, we have two candidates who believe that independence isn't a liability in the governor's mansion. It's a feature. Rick Bennett spent 18 years in the Maine legislature, including as Senate president. As a Republican, he knows the system from the inside, and he chose to leave it. Ken Block is on his third run for governor of Rhode Island, having tried the moderate party, tried the Republican Party, and decided that neither label fits. He says his views have never changed, just the flags around him. What does it look like to run and potentially govern a state as an independent? That's what we're asking today. Welcome to Ken Block. And I want to go ahead and turn our first question over to former governor of New Jersey, Christine Todd Whitman.
Hi, Kevin. Great to have you with us. And thank you for doing this. We really appreciate it. And tell us, speak a little bit about why you think it's so important that as a gubernatorial candidate, particularly, you're running as an independent, and what that's going to mean for you when you're working with the legislature.
So even before we get to the legislature, it is freeing to not have the pressures of party as a governor here in Rhode Island. The party bosses, the labor bosses, all derail governors who've had stellar credentials, all kinds of educational background, success in business, and they've all run off the rails because they succumb to the pressure of special interests. Running as an independent, I have none of those pressures on me, and I get to be truly independent, not just in how I present myself on the ballot, but in how I govern. I believe you need to govern without really worrying about whether you're going to win your next election or not. And running as an independent, being free of all of the constraints that come along with it, will really help me achieve the results that Rhode Islanders need.
And how do you think, in working with the legislature, do you envision that being any kind of an issue, or do you think you're going to find some independent-minded legislators as well?
So Rhode Island is a very, very blue state, and even Democrat governors have a hard time working with our legislature. I intend to use the power of the bully pulpit to the fullest. It's something that many governors here have not done. I also have a bit of an advantage because we have a brand new speaker. So I get to cut my teeth at the same time that the speaker is cutting his. And I plan on developing as close a relationship as I'm able to so that we can both navigate the political waters together successfully.
Lieutenant Governor Healy, you ran for governor as a Republican.
Yeah.
So what do you think would have been different for you if you were running as an independent in Massachusetts?
Well, I think for me it would have been much easier, actually, because now over 50% of our voters in Massachusetts, actually I think almost 65% of the voters are independent. And so I think that voters throughout the Northeast, Rhode Island and Massachusetts and beyond, and we think also up in Maine,
you could run again.
I'm going to move on from that question, but it is the best job. It is the best job you can possibly have.
Without question.
That's something that Governor Whitman and I agree on entirely. But I do think that this is the moment. You and I were speaking right before we got on today about this idea that you've been steadfast to this idea that you would like to be yourself. You would want to be more moderate in the way that you approach problem solving, and I think more collaborative, and that you tried to run as a new part of a new party at a time when people weren't ready for that yet. But I think today people are ready for that, and they're voting with their feet. They're leaving both parties en masse, and so I think this time you're going to see a different voting public than you've seen in the past, and one that has a sort of a more open mind to what you're trying to accomplish. Tell me.
And we also have some particularly difficult problems here that are unique to us. Our infrastructure is literally falling down. We're building $1 billion computer systems that don't work. The level of dysfunction in our government right now even has the insiders begging for mercy. They all realize we can't keep doing things this way. And there are many lobbyists who are pretty upset right now that I might win.
And tell me what you're hearing from the voters. What do they care about? What are the issues that are really motivating to them? Because our value proposition as a movement, as the Forward movement, is that you only have to be responsive to your voters. So what are they saying to you?
Well, affordability is number one, far and away, 4 times higher than any other issue. Whether it's the cost of energy, whether it is the cost of housing, what you spend at the supermarket. We're not a particularly wealthy state, leaving Newport out of it. And Rhode Islanders are struggling. They really are. And having run in the past, I had donors who were large donors in the past who are medium donors today because they're simply not doing as well as they did. That's the big one. And then the government dysfunction is number 2. The bridge in particular, we lost a major bridge, interstate bridge over the river, right in Providence. And that was such a bad problem. There's been no accountability for it. And what it has Democrats who have always been committed Democrats who are realizing that maybe the answer isn't somebody within the party. Maybe the answer has to really come from somebody who's just going to get at the problems that we have. And that's really the secret to my success in this race. Voters have had it, and they want something different.
So what do you mean you lost a bridge? It collapsed over the river?
The top of the bridge literally detached from the bottom of the bridge, and it was bouncing up and down.
And the gridlock is so bad that you can't get people together.
Anyway.
Not traffic gridlock, but your political gridlock is so bad that you can't get consensus for people to fix it.
Well, they had to knock it down, and we are driving across one bridge where we used to have 2. There are epic traffic jams.
Oh, yes.
We're probably destroying the one bridge that's still standing while we get there, and this really has people completely up in arms. And I think this issue in particular is what's going to change the default way people vote here.
Are people reacting to you as an independent candidate? Are they saying to you, besides the fact that they know you because you've run before and you have a stellar background for this, so they would appreciate that, but are they saying anything to you about it's a relief to see someone who's not a Republican or a Democrat?
Almost always the first sentiment that's expressed to me when I'm talking to somebody is some form of thank goodness. Especially if I introduce myself as an independent candidate for governor, that puts the whole conversation on a much brighter path. People really are looking for something different here. They're tired of both parties for different reasons, but they're at their wits' end with both parties here.
And we're hearing that from independent candidates running at every level, whether it's Congress or statewide or even the local level. People are tired of the partisanship, and they really want problem solving. They certainly don't want their bridges collapsing into the rivers. And it's refreshing, I think, for people to think that people might want to solve problems instead of leverage them for political advantage. So that is an exciting moment. And there's so much you can do as a governor.
Yes.
This is a conversation you and I always have. It's one of the most fulfilling jobs you can possibly have because you can touch so many people's lives and make a real lasting difference.
And in so many different areas, too. I mean, you've mentioned a couple which are huge. I mean, the cost of living is an enormous one that you're not going to be able to solve all on your own. It's not just Rhode Island's problem, unfortunately, right now. It's a national problem. But there's so many different areas where you can have an impact, whether it's mental health issues, law enforcement, schools,
yes.
Education. There's just a lot. Are people asking you about those other issues as well, or really is it just so overwhelming?
No, education has been a crucial issue for me going right back to my introduction to politics in 2010. Rhode Island has had, relative to the rest of the country, very poorly performing public schools, particularly in our urban core districts. And everything I talked about in 2010 is actually worse today than it was then. I believe that we need a student's bill of rights. I think that we have to change the conversation about education reform here and make it about the students. Right now, when we talk about education, it isn't about the students. It's more about contracts and adults. So framing it the right way, pushing hard to raise our results because that's what the students deserve and need, I think is a winning formula. And talking quickly about affordability, our electric bills are huge. And I recently figured out that on my energy bill, and I've talked to the energy company to confirm all of this, about 30% of our energy bills are taxes that go to local and state government, 30%. Other states have suffered from this in the past, and they did things to get government's hands out of the energy bills because it's a hugely regressive tax. I hope to do the same thing as governor here.
Yeah, and when you say a regressive tax, you mean one that's going to hit the poor even more strongly than those who can afford to pay for it, because we're all
That's right.
taxed the same. It doesn't matter whether you're able to pay or not able to pay. Everybody has to use energy. So that truly is a concern.
The state taxes the energy company 4% of their gross revenues. So when the energy costs go up and the price of oil goes up that the utility has to buy, the state government is making more money because of that 4% tax on gross revenue. So the state has sort of been a profiteer. While energy prices have gone through the roof, their tax revenues have gone through the roof, making our energy bills even more unaffordable than they were.
So they're not really motivated to keep those prices down, are they? No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
They are.
So Ken, as someone who's spent their life working in tech, I'd be really interested to hear, how you as a governor would approach this this inevitable displacement of workers that's coming due to AI.
Yeah, so there are definitely going to be industries that will be harder hit than others. In my estimation, I don't think that AI is really ready yet to take over the world. I find it still pretty frustrating to work with, and it gets sometimes 50 to 60% of where I want to get to. For tech workers, I don't see AI completely taking over the industry. I think it's going to be hard for entry-level engineers to get jobs, but every tech company needs senior engineers, and the only way you become a senior engineer is if you're a junior engineer first. So AI cannot wipe out the tech industry. I think that call centers and other types of jobs like that are going to be hugely impacted by AI. They already are being impacted, and it will happen. And we need to retrain, and we need to adapt. We've seen plenty of disruptive technologies come in over the years, and it's disruptive and it's painful, but we always seem to figure it out, and we will figure out AI as well.
Ken, you ran with the Republican Party and you ran with the moderate party. Do you feel we're talking about taxes, we're talking about affordability, we're talking about infrastructure needs and investment in the state of Rhode Island. Do you find that what the parties told you voters care about is different than what the voters actually care about as you experience them as an independent? Is that a different conversation?
It's a really great question, and I'm going to frame party a little. I'm going to define it here, because the party bosses don't really frame what the candidates do. It's really the primary voters who do, and those primary voters live at the extreme ends of both political.
And remind
parties.
us the party the primary structure in the state of Rhode Island. Do you guys have a closed party primary?
We have open primaries. Independent, unaffiliated voters can choose to vote in either party's primary.
Okay.
Myself as an independent candidate, I have no primary.
But you have to choose one or the other.
You do have to pick one or the other if
Yeah.
you're going to participate in a primary. Our primary is very late. This year, I believe it's the second week of September. And again, I think that
we're
works
gonna put a
fantastically.
pin in that because I want to talk about how that's going to impact your campaign.
Okay.
But back to the voters.
Okay, back to the voters.
Back to the voters.
On the voting side of things, and I've experienced this running as in a Republican primary. The Republican primary voters, the things they cared most about couldn't have been more different than what the vast majority of Rhode Island voters cared about. And if you're going to win the Republican primary, you have to be willing to swing pretty far hard right in Rhode Island to win the primary, which I wasn't willing to do because it wasn't me, and it also wouldn't have set me up well for the general. And the problem that every Republican candidate in Rhode Island has, being a very blue state, to win their primaries, they make themselves pretty much unelectable in the general.
And remind us what the party registration is in Rhode Island.
It's
Roughly.
15% Republican, 33% Democrat. Everybody else is independent.
Okay, so Rhode Island's primaries are in September, which means that the Democratic nominee for governor is not going to be known until just a few weeks before the general election. So what
Yes.
does that compressed timeline do for how you're building your campaign?
So as what I am doing and what my staff are doing and the hundreds of volunteers are doing that are helping, we're getting the word out. We're starting to put out yard signs. The yard signs is a big deal in Rhode Island politics. We'll have a couple thousand out there, I believe, before everything's said and done. Again, small state, that may be small numbers in other states, but here, that's a lot. I'm raising money, that's a big one, and I'm staying out of the primaries. I'm just spectating. I'm watching the Republican and the Democrat primary contestants go after each other and try to define themselves, and they're both going negative, which is great. And I'll just be ready to take on whoever emerges at early September, and we have an 8-week sprint to the finish, and we'll do whatever we have to do to get the message out there and show that the choice of myself as governor will yield a different result than what we've done over the last 20 to 30 years.
And are you going to be participating with Forward in any of the 4th of July events, any the clam bakes, the usual things that go on up over the summer?
Oh, yeah. The parades are a very important element of running for governor here. I'll be shaking 10 to 20,000 hands over the 4th of July holiday. And I actually originally did not like that at all, and I've grown to really appreciate what that kind of retail politics can do in your campaign for governor. So yeah, there'll be a lot of getting out, a ton of sunscreen for me, and you know, I do enjoy that element of it. The retail politics here in this small state is meaningful and impactful.
And how is Forward helping you?
Forward is helping me. First of all, with the visibility that you're bringing me here, and also nationally, is crucially important. It's so nice to know that there is a political home. Running as an independent can be a very lonely experience, and I've run really outside of party politics. Even though I ran as a Republican, I was more or less trying to take over the Republican Party as opposed to really running within it.
Governor Whitman tried that, and Lieutenant Governor Healy tried that.
Mixed results. Yeah.
It's a tough road. So I haven't had a political home, and I feel like I do now. And the Forward Party has been excellent, and I look forward to collaborating with you as this election unrolls.
So Ken, tell us how the media treats you. You know, do you get asked for comment? Do they put independent candidate under your name? Do they, you know, how do they feel about having 3 parties to deal with?
So I am instantly credible with the Rhode Island media. Aside from the 2 races that I've run, I've been a very engaged advocate, and I was an advocate before I ran for governor the first time. After each election that I lost, I didn't disappear from the scene. I picked up issues that were important to me. I have a statewide bully pulpit. I use it. So I've stayed visible, not because I plan on running, but it's because I try to make a difference. The media knows that. They understand me. They know that I give them answers where most other candidates do not. So I've had more than my share of favorable coverage so far, and I would expect that to continue.
And what about debates? Are you going to get on the debate stage?
Absolutely. I have any threshold that any debate sponsor would have, I've already met and exceeded. And I really do very well in debates. In 2010, we had about 40 debates and forums in that campaign. That was my. I actually love them. And so
God bless you.
Well, you're cut out for this then,
Yeah,
because that's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot. The candidates all knew each other so well. We would do each other. As we were waiting for the debate to start, we'd each take someone else's positions, and we would actually hold a mock debate with polar opposite approaches on the different issues. Yeah.
Well,
It's something.
as we wrap up here, I want to give Governor Whitman and Lieutenant Governor Healy an opportunity to offer some advice as veteran candidates to Ken in his race for governor in Rhode Island.
Well, it sounds like he's doing all the right things. I mean, it's particularly the getting out there and doing the voter, the meeting the people where they are and listening to them. Because Rhode Island is a small state and it makes a huge difference. But frankly, I think every state, politics is still local, as
Yeah.
the famous saying says.
Well, as the 4th of July is coming up, I'd stay hydrated and wear comfortable shoes. Good
Right.
luck.
And a hat.
Wait, you guys have a way you do your handshakes. Wait,
Well, you
show
have to
Ken
get in
how
there.
you do the handshake, because if you're going to shake all these hands, there's like a
If
health
you
issue
were here, we could help you,
Yeah.
but we can't.
Just get
show
in,
you.
get
Can
in
you
there
give him,
fast
can you
and
show
hard.
him the example? Didn't you say you have to kind of grab them somewhere first so that you don't hurt your hand?
Don't give away the politicians' secrets.
Well,
Don't
okay,
do
then
it.
Ken, you'll have to call them offline, and they're going to give you the secrets for handshakes.
Good luck.
Good luck. Take care. I'll
Ken
see you
Block.
soon.
We look
Candidate
forward to
for-
coming and campaigning with you in Rhode Island.
I cannot wait. Thank you so much.
Forward-endorsed independent candidate for governor in Rhode Island, Ken Block. Thanks so much. The very first endorsement Forward Party made this election cycle was for Rick Bennett. Rick is running as an independent for governor of Maine. He's the former president of the Maine Senate and former chair of the Maine Republican Party. With 18 combined years of service in the Maine legislature, Rick has one of the deepest governing records of any gubernatorial candidate in the country. We were so proud for that early endorsement for Governor Whitman to head up to Maine to see you as part of that press conference. And welcome to the Forward Party podcast, Rick Bennett.
Oh, thank you. It's wonderful to be here, and I'm so delighted and honored to be the first endorsed candidate for 2026 for the Forward Party.
So, all right, Rick, big question. Why an independent?
You know, I've been involved, as you noted, for many years in Maine's politics. I'm a Maine native. My family's been here for 10 generations, and I'm deeply concerned about Maine's future. And what I've learned is that party politics have really gotten in the way of getting things done, of finding the solutions that Mainers need to the wrenching challenges that we have, and also to take advantage of the opportunities that we have. And it was a big step, it seemed at the time, to step out of that framework that we all have learned that is politics. But it's also been tremendously liberating. And as I've been campaigning around the state, I've really felt connected to people who share my frustration about the politics that doesn't actually get things done and accomplished, but is really more about pointing fingers and blaming each other. It used to not be this way in party politics, but it has come to be that parties are just getting in the way of our collective work together. It's gotten much more toxic in terms of the way we talk with each other. And we need to get back to the basics of communicating and collaborating. And sure, we can have disagreements. That's okay, but let's work through them and understand, and this is a Maine tradition, because we're a small state, of working with our neighbors, regardless of their party affiliation, to actually take on the challenge at hand. So it's been a wonderful experience thus far, and I've been getting a tremendously warm reception.
So talking about your neighbors, I mean, these are folks you've been campaigning with, for the entirety of your career. So what does it actually feel like now to knock on the same doors you used to knock on as a Republican, in the same communities you visited for decades, but now you're introducing yourself as an independent candidate? What does that feel like?
It doesn't feel like a lot different, except I think that people are less likely to make assumptions about who I am. And that's been liberating because
I love that.
yeah, and people are the people who know me best know that I've been an independent spirit in my elective office. I served back in the 90s and the early aughts. I was president of the Senate when we had a tied Senate. We actually had 17 Republicans, 17 Democrats, one independent. Everybody thought it was going to be a disaster. We made it work. It was a different time. That was 25 years ago. I went off and built some businesses and created jobs and had a successful career there. And I ran again in 2020, specifically because I think our politics are broken and that we needed a different approach. I did that as a Republican, trying to make the party system work, but I wasn't successful, frankly, although we made some headway in some big issues. I think it's just been getting worse. And so this is a shared view by people. They know that I have an independent voting record. I always put party last on my list of things to think about when I'm dealing with an issue. And I think that people understand the move and they appreciate having an option in this important election to elect a new governor of Maine that's not the same old, but is in fact somebody that they know, that they trust, and who has experience and the ability to get things done and to move us forward.
Rick, more than other states, Maine has a history of electing independents and independents to the governor. And so do you think that people look at you as one of a line of independent candidates for governor? And how does that impact your credibility? Are you judged by the prior independents? How does that work?
Yeah, Maine people, as you note, they not only vote for independence, they're pretty darn independent, and they view themselves that way, even if they've decided to put a party label after their name. Yet we have a long history, and twice in my lifetime we've elected an independent governor. In 1974, Jim Longley won the governorship. In 1994, Angus King won the governorship. He was reelected in 1998. I served with Governor King. I was president of the Senate when he was governor. And so, yes, I think the Mainers are very open to independent candidacies. And I would say that my experience to date on the campaign trail suggests not only are they open to it, they're hungering for it. I can't tell you the times I go around a diner and shake hands like I did the other day and just introduce myself and say, "Hi, I'm Rick Bennett, I'm running for governor," and people are polite. And then I say, "I'm running as an independent," and their whole demeanor changes. It's such a wash of relief comes over their faces. I had a woman hug me the other day that I didn't know because she just felt like, thank God there's a different approach. And then when they learn about my background and my commitment to this state and some of the ideas that we're putting forward to actually improve people's lives, practical things that we're adopting from other states, not care whether they're red, blue, or whatever. We're like trying to find solutions that work for Maine. And that's just a completely different approach, and it's been immensely liberating for myself personally, and it's been very warmly received.
And are those issues different than what you're hearing from the national stage, from the Republicans and the Democrats at the national level?
There is some talk about issues that everybody knows exist, but there seems to be an emphasis in the national stage about things that are really irrelevant to most people's lives on a day-to-day basis. The people I talk to are, they're doing everything right, they're following the rules, and they still can't get ahead. There's so many people that feel frustrated. The cost of living is just exorbitant, even up here in Maine. Housing is tremendously expensive. People are not able to buy a home that they can afford in communities where the jobs are. They can't get childcare. We have childcare deserts in lots of parts of rural Maine. That makes it impossible for people who want to work. And the one thing I hear from Maine business is that they need workers and they can't find them, largely because people cannot afford to live in the communities where the jobs are. So, yeah, these are the real issues that affect Maine. We've got high energy costs. We've got schools that need to perform better. These are the real issues that people are concerned about around their kitchen table. And in the political system and the party system right now is really not equipped to even deal with them effectively.
Rick, you've got one of the most hotly contested Senate races in Maine this cycle. Millions and millions of dollars are going to be poured into Maine from outside interest groups driving those national narratives about issues that are not relevant to Mainers. And it's really nasty. What is that doing to Maine voters? How exhausted are folks? And how is that impacting your campaign?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's going to be evolving, honestly, as things move forward. We just had our party primaries a couple of weeks ago, and there were a lot of people running for governor. There was this hyper focus on the U.S. Senate race. I know a lot of people nationally have been focused on this, been getting a lot of coverage in the national media. We also have a congressional race which is open and is currently a Democratic seat, which is going to be hotly contested.
And I think for our listeners and our viewers that are out there, so Jared Golden is a Democrat serving in the United States House of Representatives right now. And his district went, 7 points for Trump, Rick? So it was one of these split districts. It has ended up being one of the most expensive congressional districts in the United States of America. And Jared has been a consistent bipartisan leader in the United States House of Representatives. But it's an example of where our incentives in our broken political system are not incentivizing Jared to stay because he's just exhausted. The churn of the campaign season for him to be reelected in a swing district like that is just too much. He's chosen to retire, which is a huge loss.
It is. Jared is an amazing man. He's a friend of mine. And he has shown again the point that Maine voters vote independently. They vote for the person, not for the party. And they look at that. And even when Trump has been on the ballot, Jared has won victories in that seat. I think, that people, by the time the election comes around, they're going to be even more refreshed by having an independent option that's competent and able and compassionate and will focus on getting things done in the governor's seat. Because I think people do look at the governor's race differently than they look at congressional and legislative races. They expect the members of Congress are going to they have to vote yes or no on things. It's very binary, and so by nature it becomes kind of an us versus them kind of framework. With a governor, they expect that a governor is going to work for the entirety of the state, be beholden not to a political party, but all the people of the state, and focus on actually getting things done, getting results, building the kind of coalitions of people of all across the spectrum, but also the interests that people have in order to find a common path together. So I think that all of that noise that's coming from those other elections is going to focus attention, I think, on the governorship as a unique position and one where they're looking for something different and they're open to somebody who will be relentless about execution and about working collaboratively together.
How does it work in Maine? How are the ballot positions chosen? And do you run on a line where it'd be all Republicans across one and Democrats across the other and independents on the third? Or
no, it's going to be just alphabetical. So
Okay.
it'll be, and I'll be at the top of the
That's
ballot.
really nice.
That be working out for you.
Good one.
Better to be
My
lucky.
name of Bennett comes in handy once in a while.
So paint us a picture of the political landscape in Maine. How many, what percentage do you have of Republicans and Democrats and independents? And then contrast that with your state legislature.
Well, in Maine, we have an even divide really among independents and Republicans and Democrats, although independents do outnumber the party in terms of enrollment. We call them unenrolled voters in Maine. The Democrats control both chambers of the legislature and the governorship, and they have for the past 8 years. And so I think it's fair to say that in Maine history, it's been almost 70 years since the voters of Maine have returned a governor of the same party after 2 terms from that same party. It's been 70 years. So I think that makes it really challenging for the Democratic nominee, and particularly in this case, the nominee was essentially second in command. We don't have a lieutenant governorship in Maine, but essentially the Democratic nominee was a prominent position in the Mills administration. And I think people are ready to turn the page on the Mills administration. On the same token, there's a lot of people that don't feel comfortable with the Republican Party because of what's happening in Washington and the leadership or lack thereof that they see in Washington. So I think the dynamics in that way are very good for me coming into it as an alternative from the usual, and one that is not just an alternative, but one who's credible and who has the history and the experience and the record of actually delivering results and getting things done in both the public sector and the private sector. I'd also say that, if I could just add, that's been recognized. I have dozens and dozens of current and former elected officials from all across the state, both parties and independents, who've endorsed my candidacy. They're coming out more and more every day. And these are people that know me, have worked with me, know that I can unite even disparate people with differing views. And that's been really encouraging. And it's rare for independent candidates to have that kind of outpouring of support so early, particularly in an election.
What's your budget for this campaign?
I think that we need to raise about $3 million. We're going to be outspent vastly by the parties, and particularly, as you know, the dark money comes in from the Republican Governors Association or the Democratic Governors Association. But as long as we have enough money to get our message out, we'll be fine. And it's all going to be overwhelmed by the fast spending in these 2 other races that we just talked about too. So we just need enough money, and about $3 million will do it.
So, Rick, nonpartisan structural democracy reforms, systems reforms like ranked choice voting, nonpartisan primaries are part of the Forward Party platform. Talk to us about ranked choice voting in Maine and how it's used in the primaries versus in the general, and what that means for your race.
Yeah, thank you. We have ranked choice voting. The court ruled that it can't apply because of Maine's constitution to state general elections. It applies to primaries of both state and federal elections, and it applies to general federal elections, but not to state general elections. So there was ranked choice voting in the primaries. It took them over a week to actually determine who the winners were in the 2 party primaries for governor. But for the state general election, it's going to be a 3-way choice, and the plurality winner will win. And this is how Jim Longley won in 1974 and how Angus King won in 1994, by getting more votes than the other 2 candidates. I'm confident that we can do that. And I actually think it's better for us to do that because it forces the choice for people. Who do they want for the next governor? And not like who are the top 2, but who, which person. So I'm actually feeling really good about that. And it also points out the fact that the Democratic nominee was not the first choice of 77% of Democrats who voted in the primary. And we are working actively to go court those 77%. And the Republican nominee was not the first choice for 62%
That's
of the
so
voters in the
interesting.
Republican
Wow, what an interesting learning that you're able to take from that ranked choice voting ballot as you go into the general election.
Yeah, that gives you all kinds of running room.
Yeah.
I think it does. That and the independent nature of Maine voters generally, and the kind of candidacy that we're running, which is inclusive and open and welcoming. It's really, it's been really heartwarming. I keep using that term because well, partly because I think that we need to bring more heart back to politics. That's politics, as we all know, has been revolving around kind of the worst parts of human nature. And one of the things we're trying to do is recenter it around the better parts of human nature. There's no reason we should drive the things that we value most, joy and kindness and love, out of the political space. We should actually bring it back in and make it welcoming and make people feel like being involved in their future collectively as a community of people and listening to each other and talking with each other is a good thing, and it's welcome again. And that's what we're doing with our campaign.
Wow. Well, Rick, you exemplify the kind of candidate that we are hoping to build this platform to encourage and to support. And I do believe that you will find a lot of eager listeners out among the voters who are waiting for someone with optimism and vision and a good heart to lead them forward.
And I'm looking forward to getting back up there with you. And I bet you could get Lieutenant Governor Healy, too. It's not too far
Yeah,
from
I think I could do
Massachusetts.
it. I think I could get over that border and get up there very easily.
Please do, and I'll do that. And you're welcome, and I'd love it to be out on the campaign trail with you both, and Governor Todd Whitman. I know you'll be up here in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks or so, and I'm really grateful for that. I'm grateful, Lindsey, too, for the entirety of the Forward Party and everything you're doing for this campaign. Your early endorsement really has drawn national attention to our effort here, which has been really helpful to us, and I'm so grateful.
Well, Rick, it is unusual, as Kerry said, to have a candidate lead with words like heartwarming. You used the word compassionate earlier, optimism. What is your tagline? What's your slogan for your campaign?
Let's get to work.
I love it. Let's get to work. To our listeners out there, Rick Bennett, independent candidate, Forward-endorsed for Maine governor. Thank you so much for joining us today, Rick. Let's
Thanks,
get to
Rick.
work.
All.
Great to see you.
Good luck.
Let's get to work.
Rick Bennett has 18 years of legislative experience and a bipartisan record. He's already done the job of building cross-party coalitions, and now he's asking Maine for the biggest office in the building. Ken Block has run for governor 3 times under 3 different political labels, with essentially the same platform each time. He's betting that Rhode Island is finally ready to hear the argument he has been making for 16 years. One thing is clear from both of their campaigns. The path to being a successful independent governor isn't built on being against parties. It's built on being for something. Better government, better management, better service to the people who elected you. Rick and Ken, thank you for being here and for being willing to take the hard path. If this conversation resonated, share our podcast with someone who needs to hear it. And we'll see you next time. As Rick Bennett says, let's get to work.